Hello and welcome to Let's Ride with Stonewolf. We're just leaving Tyndrum. We had a good charge at the Green Valley stop. I got average speed cameras in this bit. That's not going to bother us too much. We are on our way to Glasgow. So show notes. Okay. I remembered my show notes correctly. Oh boy. It was nice and dry at the Green Valley stop, and now they were just gonna get red hot. But we had a good charge, and we are ahead of time. How ahead of time are we? About 15 minutes or so. Check if the pockets are done up. I think they are. Yeah, feels done up. Looks done up. Yeah, we're about 15 minutes ahead of time. That's great. That's brilliant. A little hard there. This is going to be a little bit of a long one. But a whole bunch of that length is going to be basically negotiating the area around Glasgow. I need to get this Velcro fixed. Or I could get a new riding set. I have had this one for a few years. Yeah. The old Paragon 5 has really done me good service. But, yeah, basically we're coming down out of the Highlands, along Loch Lomond, and then around Glasgow. And I'm not going to inflict Glasgow on you guys. We'll be ending this episode a little bit after the lake. Tackling Glasgow by myself. So, apart from the rain coming in, how are we doing? We're doing good. It's been a pretty nice morning. It's like it's 20 to 10 and I've already been on the road like 3.5 hours. It's Saturday. I'm not an early starter kind of guy. But the thing is, even though like we're already 3.5 hours into our journey, it's a long journey. If I got home on time, it'd be sometime around midnight. I'm hoping to make up a little bit of that time. We're already bringing it earlier and earlier and earlier. I think the actual on-spec arrival is 11:30 or something like that. So we're already at 11:15. That does, I guess. That does look like a roundabout. Looks very much like a roundabout. Google give me like the roundabout thing, and then it was like, I looked at the sign and was like, that's not a roundabout.
Exit the roundabout.
This is not the best place for you to make me accelerate, to be honest. But, you know, nice drivers for you that really think about where good places to accelerate might be. Because ice vehicles are just so inefficient that doesn't really matter. An old MG? Yeah, it's an old MG. 2 old MGs, wow. I bet they're having a lovely day. And I mean that non-sarcastically, I bet they are legitimately having a lovely day. They are probably getting almost as wet as I am, and they're probably carrying almost as little as I am. Is the railway again? I think the station for Tyndrum is like up on the hill behind the Green Willing stop. Because the railway doesn't want to come down into the valley. I'm just trying to do some brain math so that, like, as I go along, I can judge my distance. I've got 70 miles to do. 1140 plus 70 is going to be 1210 again. It's not going to matter until I get near Glasgow, but you know, it also helps me visualize how far I've gone. So, yeah. I guess I'll break out one of my conversation topics. I touched on it a little bit as we were going along. And it's just a whole bunch of stuff around like charging and getting good range and that kind of thing. Like, I talked about destination charging a little bit. I think destination charging is a cool idea. But for me, on this bike, it's kind of pointless. You know, I gotta carry around this big bulky cable, so destination charging doesn't work for me. Especially because it's so slow. But even though it is slow, you know, if I'm stopped somewhere for an hour, I could get like 10% off of a destination charger. Yeah, I could get quite far on 10%, you know. I could get like another 10, 11, 12 miles on 10%, you know. Yeah, when you think about it, I generally assume that 60% is going to get me 70-ish miles. So, if I can add 10% when I'm stopped somewhere for an hour, yeah, it's about 11 and a half miles. Oh my god, this rain. And that can make a big difference. You might not think it does, but it could. Especially like if I'm up in the mountains and I'm on slower roads than this, where that 70 miles can like stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. Like according to Google, this 70 miles that I'm doing now is going to take me about an hour 50. So, you know, a sixth of 2 hours is 20 minutes. I'll take 20 minutes of extra riding. And it could stretch longer than that. I've had times where, like, it's been a 3-hour estimate. I'll take 30 minutes of extra travel time. Yeah. And, you know, maybe I might be there for longer. You know, it could be a sit-down meal. We're there for, like, an hour. Or it could be a sit-down meal. We're there for, like, 2 hours. And we traveling with friends, they're having a beer, they want to stop at a nice pub, I want to stop at a shopping centre, not because I want to stop at a supermarket or whatever, but just because that's where the charger is, and a destination charger can help like bridge that, you know, with us. But the problem is, you're going to carry this big stupid bulky cable. So it's not that I think destination charging is bad. Oh my god, that is heavy. Oh no, I'm actually going to get legit wet. I don't want that. Oh, and the road is already... Wow, that was heavy. Smacked in the knuckle by something. Oh, there's a leak in my... there's a leak in my sleeve, I think. Oh, we've like this pub here. We stopped here on the way up. Loch Lomond is imminent, and yeah, we stopped at that pub, and we had like lunch, and they all had a pint with some food. 1 pint, and I had some Coke, and like when you do that, destination charging is great, but I have to carry this big bulky cable, you know, and I just don't. You know, that big bulky cable, that's half of one of my side bags, you know. And destination chargers, they just tend not to have a tethered cable, which is like, it's a problem, right? You want a tethered cable, and the cable is expensive, so the venue's not going to have one. Like, the expense of the cable's a whole different matter, but yeah, the venue's probably not going to have one. So for me, destination charging just isn't really a thing. And that's a shame. If it wasn't for the need to carry a big bulky cable around, I would probably do more destination charging. Now, for you, it might be different. So you might have a 0, in which case you're going to be carrying that cable anyway. You might have a car, in which case it's not really such a problem to carry the cable. And even if you have a car, it's going to have a bigger battery or whatever, but you'll be able to get a higher charge rate than me. Like, even if it's only like a 7 kilowatt destination charger, you know, your car battery's not that big. And depending how long you are spending at that location, you might get a decent amount of charge out of it. Especially if you're spending all day there. Oh, you just plug in and like let it charge. You know, if you're, say, at a theme park or something like that, where you're basically there for the day, you know, you might be getting 7 kilowatts. Okay, maybe you've got 3 times as much battery capacity as I do. But that still means you're getting, what, 7-ish% every hour? If you're there for, say, 5 hours, 5 times 7 is 35%. You know, how far can you get on 35%? I would wager the answer is a reasonable distance. So destination charging is pretty good. I don't do it because of, this is Loch Lomond here. I don't do it because of the need to carry the charger with me. Sorry, not the charger, the cable. I need to carry the cable with me. Now, I do generally, if I'm going camping, in which case I'm going to have a strap bag anyway, I do generally carry the granny cable. But I don't have it on this trip because that's not a thing that I'm doing. It only really matters if I'm camping. I didn't on my European tour because I didn't think anyone I stopped with would be able to run a cable out to the street, and if I recall correctly, I believe that was true. But there were a couple of places where I could have probably made use of like my destination charging cable. What would be really nice is if the two were the one thing. Like, if my granny cable had a 3-pin plug at one end, and then like the little box in the middle, and one end of that box had a short little run to the 3-pin, and then the other end of it had the just the Type 2 Medicaid socket, and then I could just shove that in my bag with the Type 2 cable and I would have both. That would be great. But the thing is, these things are not meant to be compact. They're made for people who have cars and just like stick them onto the floor of their boot, which is the dumbest place to put it. And they just don't think about it. They just carry it around all the time. And it is the dumbest place to put it, by the way, because you stop and you're like, oh, we'll do a charge, and then you're like, all the luggage. This is why you should have a frunk, right? This is why you should have a frunk, even if the front of the vehicle is full of power electronics and the only thing you can fit in there is a little tiny frunk where you could put like a laptop bag or something, right? It is still useful because you could put your cables there and then they're not in the bloody way and they're not under the floor of your boot where you have to like dig through it, like all of your luggage, to get them out. Right? The cables need to be somewhere that it's easy to get to when you have luggage in your vehicle. None of this matters in a bike, right? Because my bike doesn't have anywhere to put the cables. There's no underseat of my bike at all. Like the only thing that's under my seat is a charge port. But on a car, you need to have them more accessible. That's why I laugh when people like do a review of some electric car. They open the frunk and they're like, oh yeah, I guess I could store my iPhone in here, and it's like, that's where the cables go. But hey, motorbikes. Hello. They're all adventure riders. Look at them. Oh wow, you really need those machines for roads like this. But yeah, destination charging is pretty good. I like doing it when I can, mainly when I'm camping, but most of the time it's kind of pointless for me to do it. You should do it. You know, if you don't have the same circumstances as me, you should do it as much as is practical, because it's a really, really good way to just get that little bit of range here and there where you're stopped. It doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. You know, it can make the difference in a long trip. And it really irritates me when people turn around and say, yeah, we need to put more effort into destination charging. Destination charging is like the way we solve the EV problem. But it's just like, it doesn't work for everyone. And one of the reasons it doesn't work for everyone is because AC charging requires heavy and bulky onboard equipment. And that's fine for a car. But motorbikes have to make compromises. That's why this bike does not have good AC charging. Right? Because it requires heavy, bulky equipment. The hydro plant. I think that might be pump storage. Because it requires heavy and bulky outboard equipment, Energica made a choice. The choice that Energica made was, rather than including this heavy and bulky outboard equipment, what we're going to do is we're going to give it just enough AC charging so that it could take advantage of a European 3-pin wall socket at 13 amps at 240 volts. Basically maxes out at 3.3 kilowatts. And that's it. You can granny charge it to maximum effect. And that, for most people, is going to be good enough. You just find a DC charger and you fast charge at a DC charger, and that's how you keep your range up. And one of the problems that I have is when I go somewhere and the DC chargers are broken, right, or they have trouble communicating or whatever, or they stop halfway, it's a serious problem for me, because AC is not really a viable backup. And this is what annoys me when people who say we should put everything into destination charging. Destination charging is not good enough. If you're on a long trip, you need to be able to rapid charge. And you need to be able to rapid charge away from motorways. You need to be able to rapid charge in little towns, on little back roads. Every town should have a little bank of like 2 or 3 rapid chargers. And that's not to say that we shouldn't do destination charging. Loch Lomond is very pretty. It isn't to say we shouldn't do destination chargers. They have a place. They are very important. But we need to recognize that they don't solve all of the problems. As ever, things are nuanced. There is no one single magic bullet solution. You have to go with several things that do different things for different situations for different people. And that's how you achieve a complete charging network. But that's not how, like, pop politics, pop organization works. It's not how you get clicks on YouTube, right? Giving a nuanced view. On Twitter and on YouTube and on all of that kind of thing, you know, you can't offer a you can't offer a nuanced opinion that says, well, we need a mix of this and that, you know, this for these guys and this for those guys, and then doing that would give us, you know, a complete network that is suitable to the needs of nearly every traveler. When YouTube or Twitter, you have to be like, this one thing is the panacea to all problems. Solve EV charging with this one weird trick. Big oil hits him, etc., etc. That's how you get clicks on YouTube. And that's why a lot of opinion that you see out there is cripplingly flawed. It's because the idea that you must present the one solution to everything is so prevalent. Like, EVs aren't the one solution to everything, but they are the one solution to basically everything that involves driving. Hydrogen is never going to catch on for the consumer market.
In a quarter of a mile, turn left.
It just isn't. So EVs are the way that we're going to go for anyone who needs to drive, but that doesn't make them like the solution for all of our transport needs. Far from it. Part of the solution for a lot of our transport needs is to get people who don't need to drive to stop driving. And to do that, we need to offer them like viable alternatives. And yes, a part of it is making some journeys harder. Yeah, well, it's just gotta happen. But those are the journeys that people shouldn't make in cars anyway, but they do it because they have the car and it's right there, and they can. And therefore we should make those journeys more inconvenient. And I say this as someone who loves driving. I mean, clearly I make motorcycling videos, right? But what you have to remember is, by removing unnecessary journeys, you make the journeys that you actually want to take better. Right? I don't use my motorbike to drive around, and I don't have a car, so I don't drive around. You know, just like doing my errands and stuff. I walk and take the tram and the bus. And for a lot of like traveling to other places, I take the train. This is my recreational vehicle. And it's the only vehicle that I own. And I like that, because it means that when I get on this bike, it is generally something special. Right? When I get on this bike, I'm not, it's gonna work. When I get on this bike, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go out into the mountains, we're gonna have a bit of fun. And I recognize, as I'm driving through, you know, the Scottish Highlands, that there are people who live in places that are very dependent on cars. Sure, I have said many times, like, I come from nowhere, right? I come from Western Donegal. You think we have bus service in Western Donegal? Nuh-uh. My hometown gets like 2 buses a day, and that's it, right? That is it. And as I said before, it's one of the like more prominent settlements in that part of the world. So that's actually good service, comparably. Right? So I'm not one of those people who are like, nobody should own a car. Right? EVs are the solution for those places. At least in the short term. because those are places that are built for cars. There are lots of places in cities in our world that are built for cars, even here in Europe. Right? Here in the UK, there are plenty of places where developers just be like, hey, we could put up a housing estate here and sell these houses for £1 billion. And there's no shops, there's no pub, there's no schools, there's no buses, there is only car. And somehow they are allowed to do it. Those places exist. And those people need cars. But we can, slowly over time, change that. However, in order to get there, we need to solve the cars pollutant problem. We need to make the cars be electric. And once they are electric, we can work on getting people out of them. We can work on taking those estates that are minimally serviced and improving their services. We can work on like giving them good bus connections to places. We can work on building a station on the nearby train line, even if it has to be like a cycling ride. We can work on better cycling infrastructure for them. We can work on like making sure there's a shop and a school there. Heck, I looked at one of those places when I was looking to rent, and even when I was looking to buy, there was a place that had like a gym nearby, and I just looked at it and was like, this place is going to be desperate to actually live in. Oh wow, look at that. All those people are going to need cars for the time being, because it's easy to get them into EVs. You might not think so, but it is. It's comparatively a hell of a lot harder to get them out of cars. It's very popular on the internet to be an urbanist and be like, everyone here could just take the bus or cycle. And whilst that is true, you try convincing those people of that. Right? You try convincing those people of that. You try convincing the council of that, because the council has to put in the infrastructure that they need in order to make that a reality, because frankly, no one's going to cycle along a busy main road with no verge. If you don't believe me, I used to do that in Ribelle. Right? And then you got people way out in the sticks, they need cars. I'm sorry, you don't like that, but it's true, they need cars. Their settlement patterns are dispersed. Sometimes their settlement patterns are dispersed for very sensible reasons. You know, they might be farms and stuff. And sometimes they're dispersed for not sensible reasons. Like in Donegal, where everyone is from the country and they have to build a big house beside their mum's house. But there will always be a need to have cars, and those cars will need to be electric, and people are going to travel in those cars, they're going to take long trips in those cars. People who live in the city and don't use their cars for commuting and going to the shop and all that runaround and stuff are going to have cars for the same reason that I have a motorbike, because they can, and they use it for leisure purposes, and they can travel on it, and it's fun, right? And we need the infrastructure to be able to charge those vehicles. And sort out, and people stop having petrol and diesel cars, what you're going to find is petrol will be harder and harder and harder to find. And we may eventually see petrol becoming a lot like the EV chargers we have up around this way. Like up around the NC500, where it's like, oh, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Where's the next one? Etc, etc. Like, I've been to some petrol pumps where there's just like one pump that's automatic and unmanned, and it didn't work. So eventually the tables are going to flip, and when they do, all those people who are like, well, I'll never ride an electric motorbike, they're going to change the tune very quickly. And I think there is a point coming up. I don't think immediately, but sometime within the next 5 years, there is going to be a point where all of the manufacturers who are like, no, hydrogen is the future, hydrogen will make bikes great, that's how we're going to solve the problem. The penny is going to drop, and they're going to be scrambling to make up. Hydrogen has already died, by the way. It was stillborn. It's not going anywhere. If you're clinging to hydrogen, I have bad news for you. But EVs are good. Even this bike, you know, this is pretty basic EV technology, but it works so beautifully well. And what it is let down by is just bad infrastructure. And there is going to come a point where the industry as a whole and the motorcycling community realizes that this is it, you know. I think it's going to come sooner for the industry. I suspect some of the industry have already realized it. But the press and their previous reluctance mean that the market is not prepared. Because all the market hears is rah rah rah, electric motorbikes bad, hydrogen future. But you know, that's not true. And even though it's not true, all the major manufacturers can't be like, yes, electric future, hydrogen bad, because the market will abandon them. They have to play to the market in order to keep selling motorcycles now, otherwise we'll not be able to sell motorcycles later. that's why you still see companies like Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki and such. Oh, it's not okay. That's why you still see them putting out stuff about hydrogen, how they're working on hydrogen bikes and all of that stuff. Some of those companies already know that the writing is on the wall. And the reason why they are still like telling you to expect hydrogen is because they know that you are not ready to accept the true state of what is happening in motorcycling, because they've screwed it on their messaging, and the motorcycling press has gone really hard against EVs, and you are not prepared to hear the message that they need to give you. But those are the companies that are going to survive, because they will be working on EVs in the background. And I think that it's going to be, you know, possibly Ducati, despite their extremely mixed messaging, they are actually building electric motorbikes in the sporting world. So they're going to have experience with them, and their actual electric bike looks really good. BMW have been putting a lot of effort into it. They're taking a slow approach. They're building up their experience, their CEO4. I think we will see some big bike offerings from them in the near future. Harley are building more electric motorbikes. I'm really interested to see where Harley goes with this, with their Livewire brand. Their second Livewire is not that interesting. Your van is fucking filthy, man. Absolutely smoking. I think it will be interesting to see where they go with that. But I think there are a few. Oh, I think this is the Balloch one. Yeah, I think there are a few of the legacy makers that are going to go the way of the Dodo. Yeah, this is the Balloch turnoff. So this is where I had set to end this episode, because from here we're just sort of, well, you can see yourself, we're going on a dual carriageway and we're just getting into Glasgow, so it's time to end the episode. So if you have any comments, leave them below. If you enjoyed the episode, give it a like. Check out some of my other videos, which you might like. If you do, consider subscribing, hit the bell, and if you would like to reward me for entertaining you today, you can find the relevant links in the description below. Bye bye.